Hi guys, Total MK fan here. Yes, I'm finally back, and today we are finally going to talk about the queen of this channel, MK obviously. I'm really happy doing this because I love her character. This is basically the video I should have done a long time ago, and of course I can't talk about MK without mentioning Macaulay so. MK and Julia moments, and me basically saying their perfect warning. I'm going to analyze her in both seasons, and also some predictions, and me talking about her relationship with Julia so, let's start this garbage. MK was introduced as Mary Kate, but she prefers her nickname, she said in her audition tape that people think to win you need to be strong. But she said no, you just need a secret talent, and her is pickpocketing and being underestimated. And man, this is so interesting, a character being introduced with a special ability that isn't physical. And the interesting point is that when Caleb appears, she doesn't give a fuck about him. The Priya and Emma were all admiring him, but MK no. But when Nichelle appears, she makes this face. No words. She just admires her. I know what this means, but I'll tell later what is it. When they got in the cabins, she stole Julia's phone and necklace while she wasn't looking. And this will be important later, but something I need to say is, after stealing she could stop staring. The scene ended up a little weird, and I thought it was great. Her and Bo were the only ones starting to do something on day one. She doesn't do much, besides teasing Emma in a scene that's absolutely hilarious. In episode 2, she starts her genius plan. She is going to use Julia's phone to download and watch everyone else's confessionals. That's absolutely so cool and original idea. And she does that by hacking the confessional camera, but in her style, in a scene that one of my favorites, confessionals. In the rest of the episode, she doesn't do much, but that's okay because in the next one, she doesn't put her plan on action. But oh my god, she's so funny. All her lines and confessionals are just the best thing in the episode. It keeps the episode entertaining because watching everyone do a circuit one by one is not really interesting. In the challenge, she wasn't the best, but was not the worst either, and with a motive.
Don't be the best, don't be the worst. No one gets voted off by flying under the radar.
She wants to fly under the radar. If she's not the best, people won't see her as a threat, but doesn't want to be the useless one. And this is really smart, is basically what happened to Millie. The difference is that MK didn't have an alliance. And by the way, Julia was pretending to be good and saying congratulating everyone that finished the challenge. But MK just turned back and ignored her. This is so funny and so weird to watch now at the same time, because in season 2 she probably wouldn't do that. And her funniest scene is when Nichelle tries the challenge and is absolutely terrible at it. And she keeps making fun of her is just priceless. And of course after a while she gets angry because Nichelle is useless whining a baby because she can't make it. And for not being a team player she ends up in the bottom too. But thankfully they decided to eliminate Nichelle because she was useless. Well, this was basically the halfway of MK. She stole the phone in episode 1, started recording the confessional in episode 2. And in the 3 she was hilarious, almost eliminated, but in EP4 is her episode to shine. Well, she started the episode talking with Wayne and Raj explaining that Nichelle was fake because nothing on TV is real, but they end up thinking they weren't real because they're on TV too. The fourth wall being broken here was so funny. In the confessional she says that she likes to mess with people's minds, but Wayne and Raj are so dumb they just ended messing with themselves. In the challenge Raj says with hockey turns to him, Wayne, Bo, and MK go after the skull, but Scary Girl and her jackhammer doesn't let them pass, so they decide that MK needs to distract her. She doesn't accept, but they make her do this. She manages to hide in the fish cabin and survive. And here where the things get good, she finds the controller of the shields, and when she sees that, well,
let the fun begin!
Controlling the shield, she basically destroys the other team's chances, making Damien leave his hide spot so Scary Girl can chase him. messing with Millie, Priya, and Chase, and not letting them get the skull and making Ripper lose the skull. And she does that laughing and joking about it. A little psycho, but come on, is so cool. And not to mention she refers them as puppets because she's controlling them with the shields. She helps Emma get the skull, winning the challenge for her team, but besides Emma, no one knows about it. And this is so stupid and makes me pissed. She does everything, and no one gives her credit besides Emma. Emma tries to comfort MK, but her sarcasm and not knowing how to interact with people without being a jerk makes her just say Emma was too late. I absolutely love her in this episode. She controlling the shields, making it impossible for the Trouts to do something, and her lines are so good. This episode makes her look as the main villain, but we know that's not what is going to happen. An interesting thing about this episode is that here is the first time we see her using the phone, watching a scary girl confessional, making a really funny scene. Next episode, that yes, it is the episode of the farce, that thankfully MK fart just one time, but talking about the episode, she doesn't do much, but the thing she does is super important. Then in the challenge, she goes to the confessional to say what she got. She knows about Millie's notebook with horrible things she wrote about everyone, and she also knows about Julia not being a good person. That proves later that she's right. Julia basically insults a raptor for a stupid reason in a scene that's simply iconic, and she finally shows her true colors. Boa saw the whole thing, but Julia doesn't want people to know that, so she says to him not to tell. He says her secret is safe with him. But MK saw the whole thing too, and recorded everything, and she does that on top of a 3. How the hell she managed to get up there? And then she posted on Julia's social media, showing everyone who Julia truly is. An evil cold person that would do anything to win. Just like her, these two have so much in common, but they didn't notice yet. Well, and because of this video, Julia loses a lot of followers, but she doesn't care about it because now she can be her true self without caring. This is one more point that makes MK great. She makes other characters that were okay to the second best character in the show. If it wasn't for MK, Julia would just be an okay character. Now talking about her elimination episode, the 6th one, the episode starts with Julia wanting to know who posted the video, but of course MK doesn't tell her because she didn't want to be caught. Going to the challenge, everyone noticed their things were missing because MK stole everything to put in her website, things Total Drama contestants used to have, because it would be an easy money for her. In the challenge, she didn't do much because they didn't give her the chance, but she had funny lines, like really funny ones, and her first real interaction with Julia, that is Julia basically heard to shut it. They unfortunately lost the challenge because of Julia. She and MK have an argument, and it is interesting that it is just them two. But I understand when a couple is arguing you shouldn't get involved. I know they weren't a couple at that time, but this is just a joke, okay? Well, in the argument, MK complaining Julia ruined their chance to win. Julia says MK didn't even fly, and MK called her a Maloo, a word that MK invented just to tease her. Also, I guess this is her most iconic line. But MK didn't notice and ended up calling Julia a butt knuckle, a word Julia invented and she only ever said in the confessionals. And out of nowhere, Julia finds out about MK's whole plan and where she hid the item she stole. In my opinion, this was ridiculous. I love Julia, but making her find out about MK's strategy that way was so stupid and just an excuse to eliminate MK because they couldn't find a way to do it. Julia tells everyone about it. MK tried to defend herself lying and saying she never saw any of that stuff and was actually Julia's fault. But Julia said MK saw everything pooping, and suddenly everyone votes for MK, making her the 6th eliminated of the season. And by the way, we have this scene of Julia making fun of MK, and people use this scene to say why MK and Julia friendship in season 2 not making sense because MK should hate Julia because of it. But I disagree, because as we see in season 2, MK does not hold any grudges and even respect a good gameplay, so it makes sense she'd be friends with Julia because she respects her strategy and her gameplay. But I'll talk about this later. Also talking about MK's elimination, I actually have a way that could make this not happen and turn the season better. Julia, instead of telling everyone, she threatens MK to vote with her or she tell the others. Because she needs an ally, and no one would be with her, then they convince Emma to vote for one of the hockey dudes, saying that they stole their brush. Then say to the hockey dudes vote for Julia, and Julia tell both to vote for MK. Then most of the votes would end up going to Wayne, since Julia hate him the most. As the season passes, MK and Julia start developing a real friendship until they reach the final 5, and Julia winning immunity and the rest voting off MK. So they separate, but against Julia's feelings, making Makulia in season having a little more context. Unfortunately, this didn't happen, but in season 2, Makulia finally starts happening. See, let's start talking about it. Season 2 starts, and MK first line is saying that she missed the island, probably because she thinks it is funny all the craziness that happens there, and I don't blame her. After being chosen by both to his team, she and Julia have their first interaction of the season, and I love this so much. They are not arguing actually, they're being super nice. Julia saying she likes MK's style, and MK saying she likes Julia's moves. Game moves okay. Not. Actually, never mind. Well, MK says Julia better have a plan or she would be the first voted off. And Julia agrees and asks if MK can help. Of course she says yes. And this is the start of a beautiful alliance, or better saying, relationship. The challenge was red light, green light, using balloons with paint to mark who lost. But they are pink, not red like Chris wanted it. So the intern is fired, and MK thinks this is really interesting. Then she thinks of a strategy. She sees Caleb passing and starts holding his back. And since she's small and light, he didn't notice. But unfortunately she got caught, but got a bit far on the challenge at least. After that, Julia stops Emma from winning the challenge, and MK thinks this was amazing, saying that Julia is an animal and her face is covered with ink, but she got all red. I'm sure. They lost the challenge, but thankfully MK and Julia were safe and looked at them happy to be safe. I love this little scene. This episode is so good. I love MK and Julia alliance, but people complain about it because they hated each other. But like I said, they didn't hate each other. MK respect game moves and don't hold any grudges, and Julia probably is grateful for MK posting that video because now she can be her true self. And no one likes them, so no one would make an alliance to them. So it makes sense they make one and not hate each other. They just needed a little line about it so people wouldn't complain. In episode 2, they have their first ever confessional together. That is them making fun of Ripper and Axel. I love the idea of them having confessionals together because their interactions are so good. The challenge that is going down slides. She was the second of the skunk butts to go, but she misses and doesn't make a point, going to the water for nothing. Then she has a little confessional saying she hates this game. Makes sense, but I doubt she hates someone in specific there. Her and Julia don't do much besides the challenge and making fun comments, but then Wayne and Raj go down the third slide together. They clog it, then Boa goes and gets stuck. Julia without options goes too and gets stuck. And funny that MK doesn't make one single comment when the boys get stuck. She doesn't even care. But when Julia gets stuck, she suddenly decides to do something. Interesting, don't you think? They almost win. Because of Millie, they lost the challenge again. Julia gets really pissed about it because if this keeps going, MK and her will be eliminated. And it is nice to see Julia genuinely worried about MK. Then MK goes to the staff member's trailer and steals the uniform of the intern that was fired, and Julia and MK finally can start their plan. Even though this episode they were really funny, and they finally started their plan, they didn't do much cause the challenge kinda doesn't help with people having interactions, but at least we see they are more close to each other. Now finally, I'm going to talk about the amazing episode 3. I love this one so much. The episode starts with MK and Julia in the confessional together, but Mo is disguised as an intern. By the way, I can't believe this worked because it is just MK with a mustache. But anyway, their plan is to MK no information about the challenge so they can have an advantage, or better saying cheat. This incredible works, and MK gets a sap remover spray and hide in the forest, so her team could go without getting stuck. Genius plan, and great to watch. Cheat on the challenge to win is so fun to watch. That's why people love the plot. In the challenge, MK tells her team she knows a shortcut, and even though Bowie thinks this is super suspicious, he follows because everyone goes. And MK gets the sap remover, and Wayne and Raj think it was just luck. MK and Julia get really impressed by their stupidity and dumbness. Julia explains MK stole the spray, and MK says they are cheating Wayne and Raj think is wrong. But MK doesn't give a shit, so as Julia. Wayne and Raj don't want to use the spray and get stuck in each other. MK tired of that, just spray them wanting to end. I like this whole scene because shows how MK doesn't care about cheating even though her teammates don't want to, because it's better when they lose. And the whole cheating idea was really good to keep things interesting. Well, later, they decide to start making the other team get stuck in stuff, even though their team didn't agree. So now prepare for the evil lesbian's amazing compilation. They start sabotaging Z, throwing a trash can at him. Then we have a confessional of MK complimenting Julia, and Julia saying thank you. Rare her saying this, by the way. Then they go to kill Priya and Emma. The plan is to throw a trash can so the chickens would make them get full of feathers. As a good partner, MK let Julia have the honors, but the feathers hit just Emma, so they decide to throw a log at them that works. They go to the confessional and MK says that Julia is vicious, with Julia almost blushing because of the comment in the most teenage college girl way. If this doesn't prove she has a crush on MK, more things will. Then all their team except Ripper goes to a place where MK hid a bucket with sap so no one would suspect them. Then the 5 of them get in the finish area with MK pretending everything is normal, in a scene that probably didn't was to but end up funny. Caleb that was carrying his whole team doesn't make it, so MK's team wins. They celebrate and show them how cheating is the best strategy they have. This is my favorite episode of the season. MK and Julia cheating and flirting the whole episode is amazing and so good to watch. Not to mention they dominating the challenge and basically taking over the leadership is definitely their best moments for now. Episode 4 they don't do much because the challenge doesn't let them do a lot, but after MK goes to the staff members, Julia asks her if she had something. She says no, the reunion was just about a hairdryer. Don't forget about that because this will be important later. The challenge is a glass bridge. It will appear a question with 2 options. Guess right, you pass. If not, you fall. After no one getting right, MK decides to go to the staff member's van and hack to see the answers. Bo says it would be suspicious she's saying all the right answers, so MK has an strategy.
Oh, we'll use hot sign!
What's that?
Ignore the answers I shout. Just listen to how many times I shout it. Odd number of shouts means the answer is A. Even number means B.
That's brilliant.
I know. I said it.
The best thing is Julia's reaction. Her face is screaming gay panic. Not to mention her confessional saying if MK's brain had a cool car, she would date it. And MK's brain and MK are the same thing, so she's saying she would date MK. When she gets wrong, she runs to hack for the answers and runs the fast she can to go back. Also, we learn she hates running. It makes sense with her. She helps until Bo gets to the final question and gives him the wrong answer because Chris would get suspicious and to make Julia happy too. Also, they end up winning the challenge, so cheat really works. The cheating continues next episode, with MK drawing a map of the maze on Ripper, tricking Wayne and Raj so they don't find out and remember the hairdryer. Well, MK stole to melt the ice to get the tokens they needed to win, and the way to. When they see their final token, MK melts the ice, but her and Julia see the other team token, and since they know each other well, they finish each other's sentences. The plan is to get the token and hide so the other team can't win. Well, a lot of things went wrong, but they managed to win. Unfortunately, MK got caught. At night, she goes to the trailer to put the hairdryer in place, but Chris saw, so she has a problem. Next episode, the merge finally happens. It's a duo challenge, but MK was confused how they're going to do this since it is the final 11. Chris says that MK is going to do alone and show everyone MK was cheating. So today is her punishment. We find out later he doesn't care about the cheating and just about the hairdryer she stole. With a lot of difficulty, she manages to get in the place she needed. But in the middle of the way a lot of animals get in MK's canoe, she gets so pissed and yells that she supports clear cutting. Then in the confessional she says she doesn't. But when she gets mad, she says things she doesn't mean. This explains last season arguing with Julia. It's revealed that the duos are fighting against each other no gets happy about besides Julia, but MK sarcastically obviously asks who she's going to fight, and Chris reveals that her opponent is a bear. Obviously she can't win and gets super hurt. I hate this episode because it's just MK's torture, and because of a stupid reason, and yeah, MK loses the challenge just to make everyone angry, I guess. She almost gets eliminated, but thankfully Julia manipulated the others to vote for both, helping her partner stay. The next episode is to make the MK and Julia fans crazy. They start looking for the immunity idol, and Julia said would suck if she was eliminated, and MK asks if it is because Julia likes her. Julia understands another way and says no, and MK just jokes saying they're BFFs. That wasn't exactly what Julia meant by like, but she's glad MK didn't find out. Of course, that's how I see this scene. On the confessional, MK says Julia is actually kinda cool when she's not trying to destroy your life. In the challenge, she ends up with Ripper and Axel, of course. They just make out and don't help. MK has to do everything alone, and she doesn't know how. And Julia also uses her advantage to stop MK. But look at her face, she's really sad about doing that. Of course her team lost because the cake looked like a monster. At least she just jokes about it in the elimination. She's so charismatic. I can't take it. In the next episode, MK talks to Julia. She confused because Julia was ignoring her. I guess she didn't want to talk because in what she did and didn't want to see MK mad at her. But she doesn't care about that because it is just a game. And it seems she wanted to say something more, but because of Z she couldn't. But they ended up solving their problems instantly cause of the game. Nothing more happened interesting in the episode besides make of the Shining reference. We also know MK is a gamer, and that she has a stuffed unicorn named Theodore, when I thought she couldn't get any better. Next episode is her elimination episode. She starts being really mad because everyone is feeling bad for Priya and helping her just because she broke up with Caleb. But no one besides Julia helped her when she was being mauled by a bear. I think this how even didn't wanting to admit MK would like to have friends to care about her, or at least not be treated like trash. They try to come for Priya because if she trusts them, she could vote with them. But they are terrible at it because they just talk about the game. Then Damien says things are more important than money. Julia asks what, and guys look at MK's face. I think she knows something that is better. The challenge starts, and is to get the biggest thing they can find. But they don't know they need to destroy later. After failing to make a little alliance with Caleb, she finds Chef's car. Julia, you better have taken her on a date after the season because she got a car that looks cool because she is the driver. Unfortunately, Julia and MK lost the challenge just because the dumb writers wanted more Priya and Caleb screen time that no one liked. Anyway, MK makes a deal with Julia that they won't sabotage each other, and she breaks it immediately, saying horrible things Julia did to the others, but it didn't work. MK was eliminated, and Julia hated this. Look at Julia, she was so sad to voting off her friend and crush, even though MK wasn't mad and actually the opposite. I was. Julia staying doesn't make sense. She's physically and socially a better player than MK, and even though she said to the others she and MK had a deal, doesn't change the fact she's the bigger threat. She stayed by pure luck and plot armor. I love Julia, but this elimination and the next one doesn't make any sense. At least we had this beautiful goodbye.
You're not mad at me, are you? You're an evil, backstabbing monster. Of course I'm not mad at you!
Aw, you're awful too.
Game recognizes game. Now go win that $1,000,000.
Okay, I promise to share some of the money with you if I win.
Aw, I wouldn't do that for you.
I know, I'm lying. I never would.
I have things to say about this scene. First is heartwarming. Second, a kiss would be better, but a hug's still good. And third, this proves how much they like each other. Their next season couple, I'm sure. But the fucking drone interrupt them. And this is how we say goodbye to the best character of the season. Besides the elimination, she was great in this episode. Her moments with Julia are just iconic, and she was so funny too. But don't worry, we see her again in the final episode, being the only person on Julia's team. She doesn't do much, so I'll say just the most important things. She was mocking the others with Julia. When Julia says she's popular, MK touched her leg. And if I had to describe Julia's reaction, would be screaming inside of happiness and nervous okay panic. She also doesn't help Julia too much because that would be weird, and Julia just rolls her eyes, actually enjoying the whole situation. After they get in the rope part, her and Scary Girl have their first interaction that I love so much. It's so fun to watch MK being a bit discomfortable about her presence, but start not caring about it, even accidentally pushing her down of a cliff. By the way, Scary Girl was acting normal with MK, she was even sarcastic to her. I need more interactions of them. She helped Julia knocking some contestants, but she gets shot, and then Priya shoots Julia, and by that a raptor rips Julia's hair off. She goes to the confessional crying a lot. MK tries to be a good partner and comfort her, saying it's not that bad the mullet, but she needs to improve her comfort skills, but was a star. But when Julia finally manages to cross the rope, MK gets really happy. I mean, she's the only person to get happy about it. She also has a confessional saying that even though she knows if Julia wins she rub at her face, but since MK literally helped her with everything she can rub her in her face, that's what girlfriends do. Unfortunately, Julia lost the challenge, with MK having no idea how this happened and being really disappointed about it. But of course not at Julia. So to finish here, MK started as an underestimated thief with no friends. She proved to be hilarious and is great at making strategies and hacking things. Her only problem is physical challenges cause she's small and weak. She was eliminated in the 2 seasons because of Julia the first time her hating MK, and in the second time liking her like a lot. The most important thing she did was the cheating plot in season 2. Taking over the leadership of the Skunk Bits along with Julia, basically carrying that team, and won a lot of challenges, and the most important thing, being my favorite character, and the reason I decided to create this channel. Yes, I had total drama favorite characters before her, but since the first episode of the reboot, I knew she was different. Her strategy, her voice, her design, everything is just so original and unique. I really tried to not be biased, but it's just impossible. Her only problems are not having enough screen time to be the main villain and having eliminations in the most stupid ways. And now the predictions for next season are finally start dating Julia, and by that I mean just have a first kiss, because dating practically are already be the main villain and have the most screen time. Have more interactions with the other contestants, and of course being a finalist and win the fucking season. And to finish, her design is just my favorite reboot design, even though it is a bit of a stereotype. I mean, no one thought MK was straight since the beginning, and after the 2 seasons we know she isn't, and wasn't a surprise. Well, MK the Queen ranking is, and always be a 10 out of 10. If you have a problem with that, I don't care, because she deserves it, and nothing you saying will change that. Well, that's it for today, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. It took me a lot of time to make this, so please share this. I wouldn't ask this if it was an AMK video. If this flops, I don't care, I just wanted to make a video about the Queen here. And also comment what character I should make a video next. Please subscribe, and see you all next time.